Hello everyone, I'm Mr. Furlong, and today we're talking meiosis. You may have looked at a family photo before and thought, why does everybody look different from one another, even though all of the children are coming from the same two parents? What's going on there? Well, that's what we're going to be taking a look at in this video, is this process of meiosis. It's very similar to a different process we talked about in an earlier video called mitosis. Meiosis is simply another type of cell division, but there are some big differences between mitosis and meiosis. One of the things that you can think of with meiosis is that it's cell division happening twice. So instead of ending up with 2 cells, we end up with 4 cells. But what's most important is how many chromosomes are in those cells. We know that a species has its own unique characteristic number of chromosomes. For instance, in humans, that's 46. Every single one of our cells has 46 chromosomes, or almost everyone. A housefly, on the other hand, only has 12 chromosomes. A turkey has 82 chromosomes. Whereas one of the largest organisms in the world, a redwood tree, has only 22 chromosomes. Do you notice anything similar about these numbers? That's right, they're all even. And that's because chromosomes always come in pairs in eukaryotic cells. So we're always going to have an even number of chromosomes. Bacteria, on the other hand, if you recall, how many chromosomes does a bacteria have? Just the one. Since these chromosomes come in pairs, we say that 2 chromosomes of the same pair are called homologous chromosomes. And that's because we get one from mom and one from dad. Here's an example of human chromosomes. If you counted all of them, there'd be 46 chromosomes. And when we look at some of these, like say number 7 for instance, those two are homologous. They're not identical to one another. One of them came from mom and the other one came from dad. With meiosis, this is a type of cell division, but unlike in mitosis, where we were trying to make new cells to maybe replace old cells, or for allowing us to be able to grow, we need more cells, all those cells had to have 46 chromosomes. Meiosis is the process of producing gametes. A gamete are the sperm cells or the egg cells. So let's use humans for instance. Every human has 46 chromosomes. We get half from mom, half from dad. Of course, those chromosomes were originally delivered in the sperm and the egg cells. So the sperm has to have just 23 chromosomes present, and the egg has to have just 23 chromosomes present, but not just any 23 chromosomes. It has to have one from each pair of chromosomes. Well, let's take a look at how this happens. And we're not going to be so concerned about identifying the different stages of meiosis and so on. And I'm going to use a simple example. Instead of looking at humans that have 46 chromosomes, let's use some hypothetical animal that only has 4 chromosomes. So they have 2 pairs of chromosomes. Let's put that into a cell. And let's just call this pair number 1 and pair number 2. So they have, again, 4 chromosomes, one from mom, a number 1 from dad, a number 2 from mom, and number 2 from dad. In the production of these gametes, we want to make sure that there's a chromosome number 1 and a chromosome number 2 in each of the gametes. When a cell has its full set of chromosomes, we refer to it as a diploid cell. That beginning prefix, di, means 2. So there's 2 of every numbered chromosome. So we have 2 number 1s, 2 number 2s, or for short we refer to it as the 2n stage. Before meiosis can begin, one of the things that has to happen is that each of these chromosomes are going to undergo replication. They're going to make a copy of themselves. Think of meiosis as occurring in 2 stages of cell division. In this first stage of cell division, the cell is going to divide from 1 cells into 2 cells, and we're going to split the homologous pairs. So notice that we have a chromosome number 1 in each new cell and a chromosome number 2 in each cell. Then in the second half of meiosis, each one of these cells are going to divide again. But this time, the originals and the copies are going to separate from one another. And so every cell, all 4 of them, have 2 chromosomes in there. They all have a number 1 and they all have a number 2 chromosome. Now for this particular species, that's important because when the sperm cell with 2 chromosomes unites with an egg cell with 2 chromosomes, we have a zygote that has the 4 chromosomes, 2 number 1s and 2 number 2s. When cells only have half the number of chromosomes, they are referred to as a haploid cell. So for instance, in a human, our haploid number is 23. In this example, it's just 2. Now part of this goes to Mendel's third principle. We looked at 2 principles. He has 3. His principle of independent assortment, that genes for different traits will separate independently during gamete formation. What does this really mean? Well, it just simply means that it's totally by chance as to which chromosome ends up in which gamete. And this goes back to then why we have to do Punnett squares. There's all kinds of outcomes that can take place, and we'll talk about this in another video. One thing that we need to mention is that at the very beginning of meiosis, something strange happened. There's a process called crossing over that occurs. And this is where DNA is exchanged between the homologous chromosomes. So for instance, in that chromosome number 1, here we see one from mom, one from dad. They literally start to tangle it in around one another, and pieces of chromosomes break off and they switch places. And so here we can see in this animation that after they've got done twisting around, we then have a chromosome that has some mom genes on it, although the rest of it's mostly dad, and another one that has some dad genes on it, but the rest of it's mostly mom. And this happens with all 23 pairs of chromosomes. So what does that mean? It means that every single time a sperm or an egg cell is made, the combination of genes are different. And so this is how no 2 children will look exactly alike, because they're going to get a different combination of genes, except for identical twins, which is something different. And that's all that there is to it. So I hope you enjoyed that. We are going to take a look at how this relates with Punnett squares in another video, and I will see you in class.